Okay. Assalamualaikum. A very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar organized by the University of Manchester Alumni Association of Malaysia. Thank you so much. Maybe some of you who knows me, my name is Suzy Baaya Jalani, or you can call me Suzy or Suz. I'm one of the committee member, or I am part of the committee member of the University of Manchester Alumni Association of Malaysia. So excited about it. Yeah. So webinar. So for the webinar for today, we'll be having a very interesting topic through this challenging time. Yeah. During this challenging time. So this is about the navigating through career transition, yeah, by PERSOLKELly Consulting, right? We're looking forward to it. I think some of you who have registered for this are aware of what is the intent and the purpose of this webinar. And I think some of you also wrote to me, to the president's email, yeah, and also WhatsApp messages with different stories and background. And thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate it. Hopefully this is relevant and helpful for you, yeah, during this challenging time. That is our main purpose. At the end of the day, the University of Manchester Alumni Association of Malaysia is opening up this webinar to everyone, yeah, everyone, yeah. And our purpose is to organize this knowledge sharing. Purposely is to help, yeah, help our alumni members, rakyat Malaysia, citizens of Malaysia, people in Malaysia, and even other communities across the world. Yeah, so it's borderless, so everyone could have the opportunity to learn from each other. So that's part of our initiatives in terms of knowledge sharing. Of course, we have other initiatives that we have in order to support each other. Yeah. Okay, so in a way, what we wanted is to manage change, be agile and resilient in facing the challenges during this pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, and which is the economic downturns is here already, and other challenges, yeah, recession, socio-economic downturn, safety and health crisis. So hopefully this is insightful and useful for you. All right. So if you are new to Zoom webinar function, yeah, so just give me a moment. Yeah, so this is the webinar toolset. So at the bottom of your screen, in the middle, there will be a chat, a raising hand, and Q&A. Yeah, so the chat is enabling the communication among participants through real-time type message. Yeah, so you could just type in for everyone to know about your thoughts or feedback or point of view. So feel free to share. Please key in, there's a drop down button saying panelists, all panelists and attendees, so everyone can see. Yeah, everyone see, if you want everyone to see, of course. Raising hands, if you have any question and you would like to verbalize your question or feedback, please feel free to raise hands. And also post questions on the Q&A. That will be useful, so we will not miss your questions. Yeah, if you have any question, we will not miss your question if you use the Q&A function. Yeah, all right. So today, for navigating through career transition, what we are going to discuss about these key, these are the key areas we are going to discuss about. Yeah, number one is in terms of managing change, right? Maintaining perspective, recognize and dealing with emotions during the career transitions. If you are already in the midst of career transitions, or you might be, yeah, you might be in progress, you're aware that it's going to happen. Yeah, whether it is whether it's intentionally or is it by the organization by itself, right? through retrenchment, layoff, and so forth. So this is how to deal with the situation, yeah, how to deal with the change. Career decisions and also directions, self-assessment, researching employment trends. So that's important. What's next, right? Resumes, okay, so what is the trend for resumes nowadays? So definitely PERSOLKELLY is one of the best that could advise you, yeah. Job search and strategies, okay, effective channels of marketing and networking, and research and technology tools and resources, and interviewing too, yeah, planning and success factors, yeah. So these are the elements. I'm sure our dear speakers will explain that thoroughly to you, right? All right, thank you so much. Okay, if there's any questions, please feel free to put it in the Q&A, or you have just point of view, then just share it. So who do we have today? Okay, different, yeah, Anthony?
Nicely done, Susie.
Within the 2 minutes. So all right, so what do we have? Who do we have today is Anthony Raja Devadas. Yeah, so you have what you can see from here. So he is the managing director and business head, yeah, of PERSOLKELLY Consulting Asia Pacific. So thank you so much, Anthony, for being here. Thank you.
My pleasure,
And
Susie.
thank you, and agreeing, yeah, and agreeing to support our cause. Thank you. And his colleague Hisham Omar. Hisham Omar, Associate Director of PERSOLKELLY Consulting. Thank you so much, Hisham, for being here.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. So this is the first time I see speaker in behind your painting. I'm sure you're going to explain who's that. All right, everyone, without further ado, we also have in Esther, the team member, in a way behind the stage, right? And also my team member, Adib, yeah, my committee member of the alumni. Thank you so much for your information. Those who registered, they are also alumni member of University of Manchester across the world, Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, and so forth. And also those who are not members or they are not graduates or students of University of Manchester. All of you are most welcome. Yeah, thank you so much. That's all from me, Susie. All right, see you later at the end of the webinar. All right, back. So the stage is yours, Anthony and Hisham. All the best.
Thank you very much, Susie. And while Hisham is helping set the slides up, good afternoon, and glad to have every one of you on the call today on this very, very critical topic on navigating through career transition. I'm sure all of you are in different stages, but before that, I must thank Susie. We had a conversation some time back to see how we can work together, and she's very inspirational. And we felt that it is important for us to align with an organization which has got the same values as ours. So to the University of Manchester Alumni Association of Malaysia, thank you very much as well to put this together. Susie and team, thank you. And I'm hoping all the members on the call will be able to benefit from this sharing for the next 1 hour. My colleagues, Hisham and Esther, put this together. So we, for the purpose of this session, Hisham and I will co-facilitate. So a quick intro about me. My name is Anthony Raja Devadas, Managing Director and Business Head of the PERSOLKELLY Consulting Group. It's a Japanese-American group providing HR consulting, career management solutions, career transition solutions, assessments, HR technology services, and of course, last mile connectivity in terms of recruitment as part of the solutions. And I'm part of the board of Career Partners International, which is a global career management organization and talent management group. So hopefully in the next, I will take you through the setting the stage, the background, what's happening around the market. Some of it you may be familiar, but our role is also to make sure that we give you the perspectives, the realistic perspectives of what's happening in the industry. And then Hisham will take you through what we need to do to help you in integrating your transition as part of your navigation exercise that you're going to do with your work. So what's happening in today's economy? And I think all of you know that there's a significant impact from March onwards till now. and it's continuing to have impact at people's lives, families, businesses, and also impact to employment. So if I were to break it down into the impact across, aviation industry is significantly impacted, hotel industry is impacted significantly, and you also have any transportation businesses, FMCG businesses, and tech businesses overall. So this is just a perspective I'm giving. Now, you might be wondering, I know this is happening, but what can I do? What should I do? Right? Part of it. So there is some bad news, some good news, and some takeaway for you. So if you look at the future of jobs, recent publications from World Economic Forum, WEF, there's a trending which is happening. By 2022, we are talking about displacement of jobs, not people, jobs or roles that's going to be taking place. From a positive perspective, a double of that impact in terms of new roles being created. So there is the bad part and the good part. Now, how does the COVID part come into play, right? So COVID has accelerated all of this. That's it. Simple as that. So in terms of looking at bad, in terms of looking at good, both are probably making a more accelerated change. What could have been just 2022 is probably around the corner now for this year as well as 2021, with at least 50% of employees who are working who needs to be reskilled or upskilled in your current roles. I'm sure as alumni, some of you are probably just graduated and going to get employed. Some of you are employed and maybe impacted or being part of impact, and etc. is going on, right? So for all of you, I think this is like learning how to swim, like learning how to cycle. What you're going to be understanding today from me and Nisham would be a toolkit for you. I call it the career toolkit, the career compass. It's going to help you prepare yourself with all the journey as you move forward. So some things in terms of the so-called myth on digital and AI changing work, right? So all of you would have heard and probably heard so many times about the digital impact at work and in the industry. You would have seen it in reality. People are now probably purchasing more of the desktops and notebooks and tablets and handhelds as part of more of activities that's coming to working from home. People are also purchasing dining tables because you need to, for the first time, have everybody at home. So they want a bigger table. So these are quite enough interesting aspects that's going on. And I wanted to give you not just the tough part of things. The good part of things are also when people come together, when families come together, there are pros and cons around it. But how does this digital and AI change the way of work? So the thinking technology, can you go back to the slide? The thinking technology, we all know cannot replace human, right? So we know that majority of the people who are surveyed have clear-cut understanding of this. Now, a reverse of that is about worrying about automation and putting jobs at risk. It's gone up and it's going to continue to go up and probably faster now, right? So these are the two paradoxes that's happening. While you know that it can't think for you, AI, but it is human intelligence and machine intelligence. That's going to factor how different types of work is going to be adaptive or changing as you go through or evolving. Next. So some perspectives on what's the jobs of tomorrow, right? You might have heard some of these. Of course, the fastest growing professional clusters are not COVID clusters, by the way. The professional clusters here are looking at the 5 areas, and I'd like you to take a moment, all of you on this call. This is going to be dynamically the new way of work as you move forward, all right? The way to work, the how to work, everything's going to change now. These 5 areas is going to dictate the next 10 years in many ways. And data and artificial intelligence is of a primary nature, which goes across the board. Engineering and cloud computing, because you are going to be working in a more flexible environment or work from home or work from anywhere, I might say. How people and culture are going to help integrate and engage yourselves with your teams, with your clients are going to change as well. New product development or innovative product development is going to be part of every aspect and every dimension that you're going to look into. So what you were delivering traditionally right now is going to have a major shift in terms of the non-traditional approaches. And finally, how do you convey this message? How do you market this message? How do you ensure that you have, you drive the content to the different audiences are going to change. What you may be using as a face-to-face meeting for a long time has now changed dramatically. And look how we are communicating to each other. You can see me. I can't see you. All right? But this is a fact. But I have to convey this message, all right, to ensure that Susie's expectations are there, as well as we are talking about all the alumni expectations are also going to be there. So we need to keep the gist, but the approach, the content, and the form is changing, right? So look at the 5 areas between where it is in 2020 now. Of course, I will redefine this graph a little bit, maybe plus 20%, plus 20% probably. And 2022 is probably faster now. We're going to get into 2021, right? So if you're already gearing up to this, you are in the right gear. If you're already on it. If you're not, please shift your gear, all right? Shift your gear, move to these 5 areas. And I think it's key for you to make sure you have adapted yourself, adopted these 5 areas and adapted yourself as you move forward. Okay. In terms of the next aspect, I just want to set the stage in terms of how you're going to be managing a change from your role, your current opportunities, your current challenges, recognizing what you need to deal with and how your emotions are there. With this, I'm going to hand it over to Hisham. And together, we will look at conveying this message of this learning experience. So participate with us. Put up the questions as you put up in the chats. And so that we are able to respond to you as we go. And this session is going to be an interactive one, a dialogue if possible. As I said, you can see us, we can't see you. So the best way we can see you is through the questions that you're going to ask us. So with that, thank you for this opportunity to Susie, as well as to the alumni of University of Manchester. And back to Hisham to take us through the next part. Thank you, Hisham.
All right, thank you, Anthony. So the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is managing the actual change. So from my understanding is some of you may have been impacted by the COVID situation. So you may have been off place, you may have lost your job, or your company is going through a change at the moment in which you may lose your job. So it's very important that you manage this change effectively. And the first thing that you have to consider is the fact that whether this situation, is it a problem or is it an opportunity? Now, it's important that you recognize and deal with your emotions, because a lot of people tend to put aside your emotions, and that's not healthy. Emotional health is very important because you have to stay positive in dealing with your new situation. So it's important that you recognize how you're feeling, and then deal with those emotions. If you have to talk to somebody, please do. There are resources available. There are people that are trained to deal with such emotions, and you should explore those options. All right. Now, like I said, it's very important to maintain a positive attitude. It's important ingredient to launching and conducting a successful job search. You cannot be successful in your job search if you're not positive. All right. So it's very important that your attitude towards yourself, towards your family and friends, and towards your situation is maintained. It's positive. Now, to do a successful career transition, it's very important that you do nothing in a hurry. A lot of people, when they see the news, first thing they do is they take whatever resume that they have and they just start sending it out. Okay, and there's mistakes in the resume. They're sending it out to anybody and everybody. So they're just flooding the market with their profile, and that's not exactly the best way to approach things. There are more efficient ways. There are more smarter ways to do the job search, and it's important that you plan your actions and not just jump the gun. All right. Start by building bridges. Now that is very important because I know a lot of people say that, you have a lot of friends, you have a lot of networks, right? But how often do you actually keep in touch with that network, all right? 500 friends on Facebook isn't the same as having 500 ears to actually listen to your problem. So it's very important that you start building those bridges, not only to your friends and family, but also people within the industry itself that you are in or you are looking to enter. All right? A job search is a full-time job. Now, a lot of people think that, I'll maybe send one resume today, another one next week, but that is not how it works. If you're going to go look for a job, it's very important that you make it your full-time job. Now, it's not just about sending resumes, it's also a set of activities, and we'll talk about that later on how you can conduct your job search. But it is something that you have to plan for and spend those 8 hours a day doing, all right? Accept the support of others. Now, the thing is, a lot of people do not want to tell others their situation because they may be ashamed of the situation. You shouldn't be. Being retrenched is not a taboo issue. It is it's the new normal. Okay, in this current economic situation, a lot of companies are going to restructuring, and and a lot of people are being retrenched. So it's okay to tell others, and it's okay to accept help from others. All right. Constantly improve your efforts. If you can do 10 things today, make sure you can do 12 tomorrow. Always try to do that a little bit extra every single day. It's important. This is going to be just like how you are at work, except your job is to find a job. Anticipate varying levels of persistence. Now, some people may be able to help you right off the bat. Some people may not be. So it's okay. Sometimes, there will be people out there who, when you ask them for help, they're going to say, I can't do anything for you. So that's their current situation. They are not able to, or maybe they do not want to, but it's okay. They do not take it personally, but just move on and make sure that you move on with the next plan. All right? Any questions so far? All right. So you have to look at what are your transferable skills. So this is very important because you have to decide later on where you want to go in your career direction. All right. So there's two examples here from a GIS specialist role in an oil and gas company to a financial counselor in a hospital. Those are two very different roles. It may seem at first. But you look at the transferable skills, there's data analytics skills, ability to analyze financial data or patients. Those are transferable skills. Okay, something which you started off from GIS specialist, and now you're doing as a financial counselor. The second case is from selling private jets to become a high net worth private banker. The transferable skills, solid sales skills, and relevant databases. Now, how would you know what are your transferable skills? It's very important that you do an assessment. There are assessments out there which are available to you for you to look at what skills you have, what skill sets you have. So it's important that you list those down before you start looking at your next journey, before you even start writing that resume. Okay? When you start with your job search, it's important you look at your career direction and your career decisions. There are four main ways that you can proceed with your job search. Either you're going to look at the same job in the same industry, same job in a different industry, or different job in the same industry, or a different job in a different industry. Again, what's important are those transferable skills. All right. When you're deciding on your career direction or decisions, if you're going to continue your career, you should again start with a self-assessment, and then once you prepare your documents and learn about the methods in conducting a search for a new job. If you're going to change your whole career, if you're going to change an industry, or you're going to change your actual job, it's good that you complete a thorough self-assessment and you conduct informational interviews with established professionals. This means that if you're going to enter a new industry, or if you're going to enter a new job, meet up with somebody who's actually doing that job or somebody from that industry. Learn about that industry before you jump into it. Okay? Research employment trends and the various job markets available for that new industry. Okay? I'm going a bit fast here, so I'm going to take a break here and ask, does anybody have any questions?
Yes, Hisham, there is a question from an anonymous person.
Okay.
How is PERSOLKELly Consulting using AI and algorithms to find candidates that are better suited for a job? As we know, each job there is over 500 candidates applying to a single job and no response from consulting companies to give feedback. The candidate experience today is very negative to talent search companies. The only feedback is we are reviewing your candidacy for the job and we revert back. Yeah, inverted commas, yeah. But poor follow-up by talent search companies. So what is your point of view on that?
Well, the first thing here is that, like you said, there's about 500 applicants for one particular job. And that's because a lot of people, when they talk about a job search, they think JobStreet or they think LinkedIn. So they, because it's just so easy now that, you just click one button and you have already applied. See, when you do that, the first person to read your resume is not even a person. It's an AI. And our organization and others out there do employ AI to go through the resume. So in the back end of the AI, for us, we will actually see who ranks highest within that group. So if there's 500 resumes, most likely a recruiter is going to look at the first 10, and that's about it. How it's being ranked is based on a few criteria, like how what keywords are there, which is from the resume compared to the job description. So it's very important that you read the job description very well and you write your resume tailored to that particular job description. You do not want a general resume for all these online jobs because they'll rank you differently, right? So that is the issue, because if you were to go on our side, on the side of the employers or the recruitment companies, the sheer number of applicants is enormous. There is no way we can read all 500 resume applications for one particular job. So that's why an AI does the screening process. And sometimes it's the AI that pushes you out. So writing a good resume is very important when you apply using these job portals. Right? That being said, there are other ways to apply for a job, and I'll be talking about that later on. All right? I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much, Hisham. That's all for this question.
Any other questions?
No.
All right. Okay, so the resume itself, like I said, it's very important because one, it is a self-inventory. It's what you are as an employee, as a potential candidate, and it also generates invitations for the interviews. Like I said, a very well-written resume would be placed up high in the ranking for an AI, and also when it's finally read by a person, that it will be shortlisted. It also serves as the agenda for the interview itself. So it's very important that you write your resume yourself. Now, there are services out there, and I'm not saying that they're bad, but you should not pay somebody to write your resume. Always write it yourself, because this will be the agenda for your interview, and you do not want to be surprised by a question based on your resume. Okay? Your resume is also your marketable strength. And it's important that when, it's basically your ad, your commercial. So it's very important that it highlights what are your strengths. Okay? That these are the basic components of the resume. The header is your contact information. This is pretty straightforward, but amazingly, I have seen resumes which do not have the person's contact information. Great resume, great candidate, no phone number. So there's no way to contact. So it's very important that you get a header right. The summary statement. Now, the summary statement is the most important part of the resume, and a lot of people do not write a summary statement because in the end, the recruiter will have just a few seconds to glance through your resume. That first part, which is a 30-second read, is going to be make or break. Okay, so it's important that we're going to talk about what a summary statement is and how you write one. And it's important that you have one in your resume. Now, the professional experience, it's the usual, the company, what title, the job description, and accomplishment statements. A lot of people, when they write a resume, it's all job descriptions. I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. Yes, it's great that you've done all that, but people want to know how well did you do that job. So that's why the bulk of your professional experience should be accomplishment statements. So this is the heart of the resume. It's going to say what you did, how much money you made for the company, how much money you saved for the company, how many people you hired, how many people you promoted, that kind of information. So we'll go a bit more detail for that. After that, there's professional affiliations, recognitions, education comes at the back, and then technical skills. Those are the main components of the resume. Any questions about this?
All right, there's a question by Adib because based on your sharing just now. Adib, would you like to ask verbally?
Hi, Mr. Sham.
Hi.
Hi, I want to ask about transferring skill.
Yes,
you said that let's say we want to move from one industry to another industry. It's not easy to change the job, to change to another industry, but how could we portray that inside the resume?
All right. So the thing is like, let's go back to that slide. Transferable skills. So what you want to do is you want to highlight your achievements which relate to that transferable skills. For example, from the first case, we're talking about data analytics skills. Okay. So that same skill set, which is from your old job, is going to be there in the new job. That has to be important. You have to identify that skill set, and you have to then highlight in your resume by looking at your achievements. All right. So when it's not just about writing in your job description, but putting in your achievements. For example, for the second case, the solid sales skills, you're going to have to talk about how much revenue you brought in. So when you're talking about selling private jets, you brought in X amount revenue from X amount of high-end clients. That is a transferable skill that will pay out well to be a private banker. So to identify, the important part here to switch jobs is to identify what the transferable skills are. It's about doing an assessment on yourself as well as doing a study on what the new job is all about. So that's why I said if you're going to go to a different industry, it's very important that you actually talk to somebody from that industry so you fully understand how that new industry or that job works. I hope that answers your question.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Hisham. Thank you, Adib. Yes, many questions.
Oh, okay. All right.
A few questions. All right. This is from Sartha Yuranka. Hopefully I pronounce your name well. Yeah. As someone from sales and technical background in oil and gas industry who wants to consider management consultant position, what transferable skills I can consider and jot down in my CV? Yeah, in the CV. Love the idea of transferable skills, but moving to a different industry with different position is not easy, especially when the market is flooded with talented candidates. Thanks for your insights.
All right. So, I mean, when it comes to, I think Anthony has something to say because I saw him unmuting himself.
Yeah, correct. Thanks, Sham. So, thank you, Satak, for the question, and Susie for highlighting this question. I hope you can hear me. Let me share with you an example of what we did in Singapore recently. We worked with an individual who is from the banking and financial industry, and she was working on the traditional corporate financing side, corporate finance banking side. However, one of the skill sets that she has had while she's in the banking industry, she has had built analytical skills. So we call it through a memory jog, we pull out all of these skill sets that may not have been fully utilized in the corporate financing role. Her role was probably impacted, and we had to look at how to help transition into the new industry and a new role. So one of the things is, of course, to start off is not just about shifting into an available job. It's also about in your interest areas, right? Something that you have inside you, your passion and so on. So we uncovered that passion with her about her, how she enjoys being analytical and applying addressing complex solutions. And on the other end, so she's in a banking industry. On the other end, there was a hospital who was looking for review and analysis of patients who are coming in, and what kind of bills the patients were getting, and how do you ensure that you are able to create value in a way, because the patients felt that the bills were high, and how do you address that from an analytical perspective and review that. So you might be wondering, how would a banker with a corporate finance environment can go into a hospital to review the patient data and retrieve analytics and be able to provide sensible information and business data to the management so that they are able to ensure that they're able to address the gaps that they are having with regard to patient care. So if at all there is an extreme example I can give you between the shift of these transferable skills, the commonality was two things. Sata, for you to take note, even if you are in the oil and gas industry, an example of a banking industry where it's also being equally impacted, to an industry which is healthcare, hospital related, and how do they make sure that they're able to take that common passion and the common skill that they have and transfer it across. So this is a practical example we wanted to make sure we share with you today. It's real, it's happening right now. So you would need to have to work with a career transition consultant to be able to assess this through your memory jog exercise, through your passion, through your transferable skill sets that you have, which will be applied back into the opportunity out there. And I definitely agree with you. The market is highly competitive. You will, as you transition, you're going to compete with the rest, all right? And out there, you're going to be running along with all of them. In order to stay competitive and stay ahead, you need to look at the memory jog, look at the passion, look at the skill set that can be transferred from where you are, where you have acquired in your industry. You would know best to where an industry requirement is matching. I just gave you a real example, real life example in Singapore, what has happened to what we have done. I hope this gives you a perspective of how this can help you shift based on what you have inside you for transferable skills. Thank you.
All right, I hope that answers your question.
Hope that answers your question, Satak. Or else you can, if you would like to verbalize or seek further clarification,
yes,
you can just mention it to us, yeah? Right. Just a moment. Okay, another. All right. Now these are the other two questions that are quite interrelated. From Mark Siu, while it is normal for employers not to respond to every application, deposit of CVs do not even receive an acknowledgement. Not very professional. Okay, I hope that's your tone. Right. So yeah, So next question, anonymous. During job searches on LinkedIn, I have found multiple jobs that I am suitable for, and each job a resume is curated. However, I don't normally get feedback from any recruitment companies. What are options do you suggest a candidate do if he feels that the job meets all his criteria?
Okay, all right. I think these are combined questions, Susie. Let me take an attempt on it. Feedback, it's really unfortunate to hear this because when you are an applicant, and I think the very least is an acknowledgement to your application, whoever you are, be it a recruitment company and an employer, prospective employer, or a freelance organization, they need, it's only professional to make sure we respond and acknowledge that you have applied for a role. And should you be suitable, then they will be in touch with you. I mean, these are, I know it appears standard responses, right? But from their work process perspective, these are the acknowledgement and the follow-up must be there. As for accepted or rejected, now, ideally, if they've gone through a significant review of candidates, at this process, I would like to remind all of you that most companies are using technology. Okay, and it's called an ATS, applicant tracking system. And in applicant tracking systems, they assess based on a profile that you have submitted. And sometimes it picks up on certain languages, sometimes it doesn't. And chances are it might not have obtained the information that you are strong for versus what you've written for. And hence the chances of being rejected without an explanation or feedback that can happen. All right. So let me recap. Ideal expectation of a professional organization is to acknowledge and to inform you whether you are to follow up with you. Whether it's accepted or not, normally they will include a statement which says that should you be shortlisted, we'll be in touch with you. All right. Now these are all standard, and if it's not done, then you know from a professional perspective, this may not be appropriate. And this doesn't apply just to recruitment companies, but across the board, including employers. So this is overall perspective of how responsibility in terms of taking your time, you've taken time to respond. We want to make sure that the organizations are responding to you. All right. Now, I think was there another, this is for the two questions, for the feedback and the resume. Susie, did you ask a question before that? Was there one before that?
No, from Sata is already answered. So those are related during job searches. Yeah, I think you have answered.
So I've addressed both the feedback.
Yes,
I would put it as a part of a
there's another one in the chat. Sorry, go ahead, Anthony.
No, the response, I combine it together because it's more of interrelated. So hence the reason I gave you a perspective to the question, responding to the question where it's more of a feedback and a proper method and a not a proper method, both, so that you understand where is, from your perspective, putting yourself in your shoes, how would you expect somebody to respond to you, an employer or a recruitment firm, to the applicant.
Thank you, Anthony.
Sure.
There's another question. Would you like, before we proceed further?
Absolutely.
So, from Vic, Vignesh, are the companies you represent open to transferable skills? During interviews, companies see this as a nice to have, but don't normally see this as an experience that the candidate truly has. Further, in today's market, when there is more supply than demand, these become less an advantage.
Okay. All right. So let me clarify to Vignesh's question. So firstly, we are a consulting organization, not a recruiting organization. All right. In our group, we do have recruiting businesses. So just to clarify the first part of your question. So, however, when we work with a client to support them with transition for their employees, it is imperative for us to ensure that the individuals have understood what transferable skills are and how it becomes a powerful component to their prospective job search. All right. So if your industry is impacted badly, like for example, right now, if you look at it, aviation industry or a service hotel industry is impacted tremendously, roles related to similar functions or role in industry may be very far and few. So for which it's key for you to ensure that you do a memory jog, evaluate your totality of your skill sets, and see how these skills can be applied back into them. And being open with these prospective employers are going to be key for you. So it's not about seeing what is an advantage to you in the past and not today, versus seeing that skill set which is inside you. Remember, the skills are with you. It goes with you wherever you go, right? And you have built it over a period of time. Even if you haven't used it in your industry, right? It's inside you that you can apply to any role or organization. So these are seen as an advantage based on the example I just shared earlier. The skills a banker has built was applicable in a hospital, in the healthcare industry. And likewise, there's many, many examples out there, and how you see it and how you look at taking advantage of that skills and how you articulate this message to a prospective employer is going to make a big difference during your interview. Thank you.
All right. If I may add to that, it's very important when you talk about the transferable skills that you talk about the achievements related to those skills. It's one thing about competing with people with the same skills, but it's another when you prove that you can perform very well. So, like for example, sales. Whatever you sell doesn't matter what you're selling, as long as you have a track record of producing sales to actually bring in the revenue. So that it's not just saying that you have that skill, it's also proving that you're a performer with regard to that skill set. All right.
Thank you so much, Anthony and Hisham. I think that you have answered all. Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to move on to the summary statement. Like I said, it's one of the most important. It's the most important part of the resume. So you have to have a structure of an effective summary statement. We're going to view an example later. So we're talking about your overall experience, key technical skill areas, additional expertise, functional skills, personal traits, and position sort. Now that last one, it's an optional statement, but usually the rest has to be in there. So I'm going to show you a sample of a summary statement. So this is for a credit executive. Now, it makes a lot of difference rather than having just your name and then go straight to the first job experience when you have this at the top. Okay, this looks at what kind of experience this person has as a credit executive and actual competencies that they have. So one look at this information, then they would, the recruiter or the hiring manager would be able to know in a gist what you're capable of. So there are samples available that you can look online, or if you work with a career transition consultant, then they will be able to work with you on writing an effective summary statement. It's important that you have one. Some people call it an executive summary, or some people, it's a shortened version of your corporate profile. All right. So, any questions about this?
No.
All right. So I'm going to move on to the professional experience. So this is a sample of somebody's professional experience. So it's the company, again, the company name, the years you were there, the position, the job description, which is just a summary, and go straight to accomplishments. Okay, grew area from 10 collectors to 60 to handling fees from 20 million to 80 million. Those are quantifiable achievements. All right, so this is what is going to be the heart and the meat of your resume, what you achieved during your career. It's not that you have 20 different job functions within your job scope. It's how well you did that. This is based on the principle of past behaviors predict future performance. So it's a HR theory. So that's why when people go through resumes, recruiters go through resumes, they look for these achievement statements. So it's very important when you put in your professional experience that the bulk of it is your accomplishments. So accomplishments are going to be about how you increase revenue, decrease cost, increase productivity, so on and so forth. So as you try and quantify it as much as possible, I know it's not possible at all times. Sometimes you don't remember the exact figures, but if you can give the ballpark figure, it would be great, right? So these are examples of how you're gonna put in your accomplishment statements, right? When you're putting your accomplishment statements, it's important that you use the PAR technique, which is the problem, actions, and results. As in, you specify what was the problem that you had, what actions you took, and what results you achieved. So when you do this in your resume, and also when you do you speak in terms of PAR, when you do your interview, so it's very clear that you are able to take a problem, come up with an action, and generate results. Okay. Any questions about the accomplishment statements or the experience statement, your experience?
There is another question, Hisham, but okay. So this is from Siti Sulaiha. For fresh graduate, what needs to be put in the professional experience, since fresh graduate don't have any experience yet, unless the internship is the experience, right? Unless the internship experience, yeah.
Well, that's what I would recommend. If you before you graduate, please do an internship. So that is a very important part. Even if it's an unpaid internship, just you should get some working experience. But if you do not have any working experience, look at the projects that you were in. Put in maybe one or two of the projects that you did while you were in university. I'm sure you were part of a committee or of some sort, and highlight what the job scopes were and what achievements you had during those projects. I know it's going to be a bit lean in terms of your experience if you don't put, if you are a fresh graduate, but the thing here is to highlight those achievements in those small projects. All right.
All right. Thank you, Hisham.
All right. Any other questions?
No question.
No questions. All right. Let's see. Oh, it's already 6 o'clock. All right. Okay. So common mistakes of a resume. There is no summary statement, this is a very common problem with resumes that I see most of the time, and with the first draft of resumes that I get whenever I work with somebody who's going through a career transition. No accomplishments or no achievements are highlighted. There is no description of the employee and the nature of the business, because sometimes unless you are from a very famous company, people kind of have to guess what the nature of business is. So it's good that after the company, you put in just a one-liner about what the company is about. Abbreviations are applied without full descriptions. Now, this is a lot of people, especially from larger firms, do this. They put abbreviations of internal terminology. Not everybody here is from your organization, so it's very important that you simplify it. Don't use those acronyms. Simplify the term, and so that the general reader can understand what you're talking about. Layout and presentation. You should remember that education comes after the work experience, and then classification of activities like award, professional relations. Some people don't put their name and contact details on subsequent pages. Even though we are, we're going paperless in a lot of organizations, sometimes people do still print out resumes. And if your resume gets, the pages get separated, then they won't be able to find the owner of the resume. All right. Spacing, make sure that you space it well. Don't make it too big. Don't make it too small. And also check the spelling mistakes. So these are normal common mistakes that people do in their resumes. Some are major, such as summary and accomplishments. Some are minor, such as layout and spelling mistakes. But it's when you make a small error like a spelling mistake, it shows that you don't have attention to detail. Now, putting there in the resume that you have a great attention to detail is such a cliche, but having spelling mistake shows that you don't have that attention. All right. Now, job search strategy. There was a question just now about, you apply through LinkedIn and JobStreet and you don't get a response from the ads. And this is you submit to a recruiter and they don't get back to you. Again, this is usually due to the volume of applications that people receive. However, the best way to secure a job actually is by networking. Now, this may seem, a bit daunting because you may not know anybody in the other company, wherever that company that you want to go to. But what you should always do is do your research and then build those bridges. Remember at the beginning I said build those bridges? So this is when you're going to use LinkedIn for what it was meant to. Okay? LinkedIn was created so people can network with people in other companies, in other industries, and get to know each other and possibly help each other. Not so much to apply for jobs. That was an afterthought that came into LinkedIn. So what's happening now is people are going to LinkedIn, applying for the jobs, and not actually connecting to anybody in the company. They're not doing the research about what the company is all about, not doing any research about what the industry is all about. So the best way to get a job is actually to network first. Even like the question was, I look at the job description and they fit. But if you apply, you're applying and then you compete against 400 people. Find out who is hiring, who the actual person who is hiring, connect to them on LinkedIn, get to know them, tell them about yourself, all right? And then after getting to know each other, maybe they would want to meet up with you. Maybe request a meeting, maybe that would get you to jump the queue, so to speak, all right? That is networking via social media platforms. There's of course other ways to network, such as through associations, such as the current this alumni association. You also can look at industry associations. Those are the places that you can go if you're going to enter a particular industry. Join those associations, join the events, join their webinars, get an insight on the industry, and then get to know the people in that industry. So then, when you talk about your current situation, what skill sets you have, then people are more open to talking to you instead of you submitting a profile through the system. All right. Any questions about this?
Thank you, Hisham. But the question came in is for the previous segment on CVs. So what is your opinion on stating your asking salary on your CV? Asking salary on your CV. What's your point of view on that?
Don't do it. Okay. So the reason is this. You do not want to be upfront about what you think your value is for that particular job. Your asking salary will actually depend on what the job is. So if you have it's not that you, of course, you'll have your ideal salary that you want from any job. But when you put it there, sometimes you are closing yourself up to other opportunities because they may look at your salary as too high or too low. Because sometimes if you think about it, if your salary is too low, what you're asking for, they think that you're underqualified. If it's too high, then they think you're overqualified. So the best thing to do is let your experience talk, do all the talking, and don't put your expected salary in there. Now, if the question does come up, if a recruiter calls you up and and asks you what your expected salary is, then you tell them what your current is, and then you want to, get to know the role a lot better before you make a decision on that. So generally, do not put your expected salary on your resume.
Thank you, Hisham. Thanks, Rafael, for the question. Now it's from Anonymous. How about sharing references on resume? Should you put, inverted comma, can be provided, or list the names of references?
Okay, references. You should put available upon request, because you have to respect the privacy of your references. Because when you submit your resume, it goes from table to table. It's passed from one person to another. So you do not want somebody's contact details there. It's very important that you do have your references ready. So when you do go for the interview and they ask you for references, then you can just say, okay, this is my resume with the references. But the one that you submit initially should not have the reference contact details, and should just state that available upon request.
Thank you, Hisham. Eye opener for me. Thank you.
All right. All right. So we'll get back to networking. All right. So as I said, networking accounts for it's the most effective job search method. And even if you network somebody who does not have a job offer for you now, it's still somebody who may help you in the future, or you may help them in the future. It's not always about you getting something from them now. All right. So you have to remember, when you network with somebody, you must have your 30-second commercial or your pitch. So you think of it this way. If you were you want to approach a company, you want to work for that company, and you go to the building, you get into the lift, and there is a CEO, okay? And you tell the CEO, I want to work for you. And CEO says, okay, tell me why. You have until I reach my floor. So you have about 30 seconds. So what would you say? All right, so that's very important, having your 30-second pitch. This will help you when you meet new people, when you network, and even when you go for the interview and they ask you that magical first question, tell me about yourself. All right, so what you're going to say is what you've been doing, what you have to offer, and what kind of assistance or info you are looking for. All right, when I say this, what kind of info you're looking for, sometimes you are networking somebody just to get to know the industry, not so much about asking for a job. All right, so you have to be able to have the statement ready and be able to deliver on cue. Now, it's important that you practice. Once you have your 30-second pitch, practice in front of a mirror, practice with your friends and family. Make sure that it's delivered very clearly, very straight to the point. Because in the end, you have 30 seconds to convince somebody that you are an interesting person. All right? Any questions about this?
No question.
No questions. All right. Effective channels of networking. As I said, a lot of people go to LinkedIn. So there's a professional networking websites that people you know. Because if you're going to stay within the same industry, I'm sure you would know other people at your competitors, or you know people who work in your current company who have gone to another company. It's good that you reconnect with them and you network with them. As I said, professional organizations and associations, chambers of commerce, trade shows, business conferences. And this is one thing which is really important, not many people try, which is volunteer experiences. Now, you know, it's sometimes when you are in this situation and you think, I'm in a bad place, I'm not ready to give to somebody. I need somebody to help me instead. But you have to think about how, you know, a volunteer experience is good for your mental health. It's good for the soul. And it's also a great place to meet people. There are organizations like Rotary Club where when they do help us, you do help others, but at the same time, the people who are in those organizations are, decision makers. So you get to know them in an out of work setting, out of not work setting. So they usually let their guard down, and they they like to chat. And then once they get to know you, then there may be opportunities there. So volunteer experience is something that you should always look into. There are organizations like Rotary. You could volunteer in your community. You can volunteer at your local religious place, such as a mosque or church, and so on and so forth. All right. Any questions?
No question.
No questions. All right. I think we've gone a bit over time, so I'm just gonna try and finish this off. All right. So, like I said, when you're going into a new industry, or even if you're staying in the same industry, it's very important that you do your research, because you want to know how to write your resume. Make sure that it plays well through that role, or it plays well through that organization. Okay. So when you do research, there are some research goals. You want to become knowledgeable about the company that you're targeting or the industry. You want to develop a list of target companies and decision makers. So it's because you do not want to go randomly applying to all the companies. You want to target companies which you like, that you want to work for, because those companies have certain values which match yours. All right. You want to uncover published and unadvertised openings. A lot of openings out there are not advertised. They're not on LinkedIn. They're not on JobStreet. They're not in the newspapers. What happens is organizations, usually the first place they go to when they have a new role is ask for internal referrals, right? So do your research, get to know the people, and so maybe you can get referred in those internal referrals. And you also want to prepare for interviews by doing the research on those companies. Okay. There are sources for your research. The best place is people, the people in those organizations, the people in the actual industries. So the people there, you can get into meetings or networking. Libraries are a great place if, libraries are, are still a thing nowadays. Usually people go to through the internet. There's electronic databases, the Chamber of Commerce's, newspapers, trade journals, college placement offices, Ministry of Human Resource. So there's a lot of places that you can actually go to do your research on a particular company. Okay, there's or a particular industry. So don't limit yourself to a Google search. Okay, because that's what a lot of people are going to do. They're going to type the name of the company, Google search, and that's about it. And if I don't find anything, that's it. Not everything's published. You want to uncover those things which are not published. And that's things that you can get only from talking to people. Okay, any question about research?
No comment about research.
No
Yeah, there is a comment from Anonymous, just a comment only. The challenge today is people are using LinkedIn differently and do not value of networking on LinkedIn. A message will not be responded. Some HR uses LinkedIn to search candidates, but not to network. Other recruit companies uses the title recruitment to view your profile, but you don't have access to who or he or she is or what the company he or she works for, even if you have LinkedIn Premium. Just a comment.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is because the way LinkedIn has evolved, yeah, a lot of people are there for different reasons. And of course, there's something that you can't help. But what you want to do is when you build your LinkedIn profile, you want to build a brand for yourself. So it's not, some people, if you send a message, they may not reply, and so it's okay. Again, remember, be prepared for varying levels of assistance. Okay, there will be people, however, it's how you approach it. If you're going to go to them and immediately ask, "Do you have a job for me?" A lot of people are going to be turned off by that. Okay, try and find some common ground. Find something that you can talk about, which is you have something in common, so that there will be good conversation that's been started. So one way to do that is to join groups itself. So there are groups on LinkedIn which are for specific industries, or specific jobs, even specific alumni of certain companies. So these are places that you may want to join the groups, look at the conversations that's happening, because there may be hundreds of users in one group, but maybe 20 people who are active. Get to know those 20 people, because trying to connect somebody who doesn't reply is going to be a lot harder than connecting somebody who's always on LinkedIn. There will be people who are willing to network on LinkedIn, and there are people who are not willing to network. I tend to see that if people are putting themselves out there and they're active online, then they tend to reply to messages. All right. So yeah, but to always have a LinkedIn profile and use it in the proper way. Make sure that you don't turn it into a Facebook, which a lot of people you can see nowadays, they start sharing things which are not career related or professional related, just to generate a buzz about the profile. But then that will affect how people view them as a person. Okay, so remember, your LinkedIn profile is about building a brand for yourself. It is your live resume that everybody gets to see. Okay. Another thing, the last one there, photo. When you're putting you're putting a photo in LinkedIn, make sure it's a professional one. Basically, it's not Facebook. Right? Selfie like that wouldn't be suitable for LinkedIn profile. Make sure you go out and take a professional one. It wouldn't cost you much. In fact, it might not even cost you anything, because right now a lot of people have access to smartphones with which you can edit yourself. All right. Any questions about LinkedIn?
Thank you. That's about it. I have a trick that I'm aware of. That I'm not sure what I asking your point of view. Even though we do not know whether there are any specific job opportunities that related to what we have interest on, you can you connect to that particular number one person of that function or department. For example, if you are a finance, then you connect to the CFO by emailing your resume directly to him. What is your take? Or if you're interested in engineering, usually you go to the chief technology officer or something like that. So what's your take on that? So these people will email directly to these number ones.
Yeah, I mean, that is actually the best way. That's the person that you should be networking with instead of HR. A lot of people, when you think LinkedIn, I want to network with HR, so then HR will then take my resume onwards. But that's not the best case. The best case is for you to actually network with the people who may be your potential boss. Right. So yeah, your method is it's very good, because that's the people that you want to go to. You may not want to send a resume straight away. You may want to, like I said, introduce yourself and network first, and have that conversation first about what they're looking for in the to expand the organization, whether or not the organization is expanding, and later on talk about yourself and what you are able to do, and maybe they may be interested in you. But that is actually the best way, to go straight to the person who may be your boss, the person who's actually going to do the hiring.
Thank you, Hisham. Due to the time constraints, so we just hurry up with some of these questions.
Sure.
Thank you, Hisham. I'm sure I have so many questions. I'm sure it is relevant for everyone. There are two interconnected. Does your LinkedIn profile description need to be exactly the same with hard copy resume? I mean profile description, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, it should be in the same area as, because your summary statement That should, because that is going to be your brand. There's going to be a summary of who you are. That should be in the main profile of your LinkedIn profile. I would also make sure that your experiences are there in the for all your work experiences, because at least people know, you know, what type of jobs you're used to handling. This is actually very important for when recruiters are doing research, because there's a tool in LinkedIn for recruiters where they look at talent and they try and map do talent mapping. So if there's no description in your profile about, you know, what you've done previously, then you don't get included into the talent profile, into the talent map. So yeah, put in, I wouldn't say put in everything from your resume, but you know, a lot of the same information should go into your resume.
Thank you.
All right. Then what I'm going to talk about next is the interview itself. Let's say you've done all the networking, you've done a great resume, you've networked, you've gotten somebody to see the resume and they want to talk to you, so they call you in for the interview. So it's, you know, there's 5 general rules. Always dress appropriately. Know the company culture. If the company culture is, you know, full suit and tie, don't show up in jeans, that kind of stuff. Arrive in good time. Make sure that, you know, you have enough time to go through security. You have enough time to go through the jam. You have, you know, especially now with COVID, after there's extra checks, make sure that you're there way ahead of time. Body language is very important. Make sure that you have an open posture. You do not want to be hunched over. You do not want to be looking at the watch during the interview. So people pick up on that, especially managers or HR who have been trained in looking at body language. Okay, expect the unexpected. You know, they might throw you a curveball and say, you know, halfway through it's going to be they give you horrible questions. Sometimes it's just a stress interview, and they're doing it on purpose just to see how you will handle it. And number 5, ask questions. It shows that you are actually interested in the organization and you're interested in the job. A lot of the times when I interview people, I ask them, do you have any questions? And they're like, no, I'm good. It's either I am so good at explaining the role in the company, or they're just not interested. They didn't do the research. So always do your research and prepare questions and ask those questions during the interview. You know, good questions such as, you know, what the structure is going to be like, what are the client profiles, you know, who will I be reporting to, who will be reporting to me, if any. Those kind of questions show your interest in the organization and the job itself. Okay. There are different types of interviews. There's your screening interview, which is a phone or face-to-face. Sometimes you get an interview with the HR or a line manager. All right. There's a recruiter interview. So these are sometimes, you know, usually the HR recruited, or sometimes it's by the agency that they've hired to do the recruitment. You'll have HR and hiring manager interviews, the hiring manager's bosses interviews, and sometimes there's panel interviews. So it's very important that you know the difference of the different types of interviews, and you are ready. For the type of questions that you receive. Okay, there are different types of interview questions. There's your traditional, behavioral, stress, action, and group interviews. Traditional is, you know, your usual, you know, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Those open-ended questions. Always have a plan about how you're going to answer these, because these are a favorite of a lot of hiring managers and HR. It's especially be clear on that first questions. Tell me about yourself. Be able to answer that, talking about your work experience and what you're good at. Okay, there's behavioral interviews that, you know, can give you situations in the past, and you have to be able to describe. Remember the PAR technique: what problems you've had, what actions you took, and what results you achieved. Stress interviews, they are, you know, they're gonna put in just give you questions just to stress you out. You know, sometimes questions like, you know, why should I hire you? I'll give you 5 minutes. If you can answer, I'll hire you. That kind of thing. It's not so much that they're cruel, It's just that that job requires you to be able to handle a certain amount of stress. It's very rare to use this. It's just for certain type of roles. So if you're do some research on what type of interviews that kind of role will entail. A good place to look for information like that is Glassdoor. From there, some people will post what interview questions they'll get. Okay? There's action and audition, so then they ask you to do tests and all that kind of stuff, and group interview questions. And these are usually for fresh graduates. All right. Success factors for the interview. Research the company and the job. Okay. And also, I would also add, research the person who you'll be meeting. So when you receive the call to call you for an interview, ask who's going to be doing the interviewing. So at least you'll know what kind of person they are and what to expect, and at least you can prepare some questions. Confirm the logistics. This may be basic, but you won't believe how many people get lost. You know, trying to find a place to go to the raw building and so on and so forth. Bring extra resumes, a list of references, because in the beginning you did not put in your reference, and a possible portfolio. This depends on the type of role that you are applying for. Some require a portfolio. Bring a list of questions to ask. Don't show it to them, but make sure that you have it all memorized. What kind of questions you want to ask for that role. Review your value statement, as in what value you bring to you will be able to bring to the organization. So this is going to be part of your summary statement. Okay. Review your accomplishments, your PER stories. There are going to be a lot of those in your resume. Make sure you remember those stories. You do not want to, you know, when they ask you a question from your resume, you do not want to be stumped. So, you know, look at all your resume, look at your experience, and make sure you have those examples. So when they ask you, you will be able to explain it well. Okay. Any questions about interviewing?
All right. So there are a few questions.
All right.
So would you like to answer it now or wait until the end?
Actually, I'm at the last slide already. So.
All right. All right. Let's do it. All right. All from Anonymous.
Okay.
Is the profile on LinkedIn need to be job descriptive or job accomplishment? If ATS or algorithms are capturing based on job description.
Mm-hmm.
And the next one, more on jobs adverts and also logistic, his point of view about logistic interviews. So that was the first question. Mm-hmm. You want me to go to second question and third question?
Let me answer that first question first. Yeah. I think it's more of job descriptive. You may want to put in some achievements there, but the achievements and whatever that you put in, what's important are keywords that tie back to your goal. So if you are doing data analysis, then data analytics must be part of the description, whether it's talking about your achievements or it's talking about your job description, because the system picks up on keywords, right? So understanding what goal you're going for when you put up your LinkedIn profile is very important. Like I said, you shouldn't put your whole resume in there, but make it a balance of both the job description and also a few achievements. All right. And the logistics, what was the question about the logistics?
The logistics and so on. Confirm logistic is so true. Yeah. I had to wait 1 hour for my interview as I did not ask how does my interviewer look like. She was actually sitting right in front of me.
Yeah, this actually this happened to Anthony. I'm not sure if he was actually already there waiting for the person, and the person sat down and all that kind of stuff, waited and did not know he was actually right there. So yes, very important, especially if you're meeting outside for high level roles. You usually meet outside hotels or restaurants and all that kind of stuff, that you know who you're meeting in terms of how they look like.
Then this
Yep,
is a
yep.
good insight.
That's absolutely critical that you have done your homework on who you're meeting and what you're doing today. With today's technology, you can quickly do a LinkedIn brief and a check on a photo if they have. If not, if all you have to do is a quick research, and I'm sure you can get the profile of the person. So that also shows that you are interested and you have done the homework effectively.
Thank you, guys. There is one more, just in case that it was not answered. Your experience, from experience, FYI, big companies today float jobs advert on LinkedIn or other platforms, but this is a purely an SOP. They have 99% of the time have internal candidate in mind. They already have them in mind already. Is that what do you think?
No, well, usually what large organizations do, they advertise internally first and externally later. So that's how it works, because there's no point in advertising on LinkedIn because it costs money to advertise on these platforms. So they only go to LinkedIn as a last resort once they don't have any internal referrals.
All right, that's about it. That's the last question. Ooh, this is among like the most questions we ever got for webinars. Right.
That's
Good,
yeah,
good.
I guess everybody.
Insightful.
Yeah.
All right, continue.
All right, so I've gotten to the end of my presentation. I think I'm going to hand over to Anthony to wrap up.
Absolutely. And thank you once again to everyone for your patience in participating in the session on navigating your career. I think it's most important that you take some of the messages that you already know through these, reinforce them, and for the rest of the information that you are learning or being shared for today for your input is also about being relevant to what the market wants out there. So staying relevant, staying ahead is going to be key for you to manage this change that you're going to go through. And the idea is also to make sure that all of you are able to build a skills battery or transferable skills to yourself that can help you achieve the goals that you want to in your new career as you move forward. So on behalf of PERSOLKELLY Consulting, I'd like to thank Susie and team from the alumni for giving us this opportunity to share with you. There's an evaluation link that's coming up for you to take a snapshot and do share with us your feedback. And we would like to stay in touch with you and stay connected with you via Susie and team to see how we can help you transition as you move forward. So with that, once again, from Hisham, Esther, myself, and PERSOLKELLY Consulting team, thank you to Susie, and as well as to all of you and to the University of Manchester Alumni Association. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anthony and Hisham. Thank you so much for those who stayed. I know we have extended some time, but I hope that it has been insightful and useful for all of you. We received so many questions. Thank you so much. That was a lot of interaction and conversation of your experience. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Thank you so much to PERSOLKELLY Consulting. We will get that Survey Monkey feedback survey and email it to you too. Yeah, but please, if you have the QR code, just snap it out as you the similar like you enter a shop nowadays. Yeah. To get scanned. All right. Just to highlight to all of you that the next session, like this session webinar for on career transition, is specifically angling towards employees. So the next one will be on the 13th of August, which is angling towards employer perspective. So if you'd like to share it, if you're a business owner, leader, corporate leader, or even HR professional, please feel free to join us on the 13th of August. I put that on the chat. at 5 p.m. So that the speakers are our dear friends from PERSOLKELLY Consulting too. Yeah. So if you have, if you are not part of this group of people, please feel free to share it to your to the respective people, you know, the corporate leaders, the business owner, and even the HR professionals. Yeah, please feel free. The next one, the most for us is the most anticipated time is our annual general meeting. Yeah, for 2020 will be on the 5th of September. This is a virtual AGM, yeah, virtual AGM to ensure everyone's safety, yeah, healthy and safe. So please feel free to refer that to those to the FB page events, yeah, that I put it in the link in the chat. Right. Again, thank you so much, Anthony. Thank you so much, Hisham. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Hope you have a good evening. Yeah. Have a good
Thank you.
night's sleep and good night.
Thank
Thank you,
you, Susie.
farewell. Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. You are all wonderful. Bye.
Thank you.